Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It's a kind of late match review for the Leeds United 3 Leicester City 1 game, plus a little bit of extra content based on everything that's happening with Leeds at the moment. As always with the Whites, there's lots and lots to discuss. I'm Stephen Brown and with me is Jayson Booker. You right, Jayson?
Very well, my friend. Very well. I'm still entertained by the WhatsApp chat that's going on, which I'm sure we'll come to later. But yeah, very good, mate. This weekend's been extremely busy. Friday night was a bit chaos for me because I had family over, so I was trying to take as much of the game in while being surrounded by people that don't take it quite as seriously as I do, which is never that comfortable. No. So going up in arms when we're scoring goals that mean as much as what Friday nights did. It were a little bit awkward at times, but I don't really care. As got said in the family environment, like they all know where they stand where Leeds United are concerned, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, mate, I'm good. I'm all good.
Excellent, good stuff. Michael Brown, good afternoon, Brownie and Jayson. Hello, Michael, welcome along. Guys, if you're watching, please do smash a like on the video. Get your comments in as well about everything we're going to talk about. Lots and lots to cover. Let's get straight into it then. Friday night, it was Leeds United versus Leicester, top of the table clash. I mean, a lot to think about. That game was, one of the most dramatic at Ellen Road for a long, long time. Thankfully, this time it was for the right reasons, certainly. Leeds coming away and picking up 3 points, closing that gap to Leicester to just 3 points. Hopefully, it's a couple of days after, so we can be a little bit more reflective on it now. We can be a little bit more balanced. We're not just in that emotional post-game state that we find ourselves in for these videos normally. So hopefully we can bring some insight, or our insight certainly, into what we thought of it. It was an interesting one for myself. I was away, so I didn't get to properly watch the full 90 minutes. I managed to actually, though. It was kind of unbelievable. I'm very lucky. Every time I put it on, it seemed to be something happening. I actually saw 3 of the goals as well, including Archie's, which was just absolutely bananas. And I was going out of my mind when that goal went in. Just your general feelings. Let's talk about how it felt at the end of that game, Jayson, because it's such a seismic result. The fact that we've now done the double over Leicester, we've closed that gap. Just incredible.
Yeah, this game for me was very different to any of the other 33 that had come before it this season. I don't think we've seen a game like this one, not that's involved Leeds anyway. In that, for large parts of the game, especially I thought in the second half before we scored, we were really second best. And we'll get into breaking down the bits of the game because we had chances too that could have changed the game. But there were some key moments in that second half before we scored, which if it had gone against us, and so often they seem to have gone against us this season. Teams have had one chance and scored, one corner and scored, or a deflection and they scored, or Patrick Bamford misses a penalty at Stoke and then they score. The moments haven't really gone for us in that way that they seem to have gone against us. Joe Rodon getting sent off, Hull away, which was a bit unfair. These moments don't really seem to have fallen for us. Meslier at Preston, all of them seem to have kind of gone the other way. And on this night, thankfully, they went for us. Whether it be, and we're gonna get into him specifically because there's one man I think that deserves a big mention from this game, and it's Ilan Meslier. Whether it be an Ilan Meslier save or whether it be an uncharacteristic miss, because there were 2 massive misses in that second half that Meslier didn't save that they should have scored from. But the facts are, as a team, we dug in. We showed real resilience against a really good side. I was really impressed with Leicester, if I'm honest. First half, I thought the game was 50-50. I thought they started better and we grew into it, and we were probably the better team for the last 20-25 minutes of the first half. But second half, until the 80th minute, it was all Leicester, really. So yeah, it was a really, really interesting game. Proper battle of attrition, real character showing game, some real standout performances. And there's a couple of performances that I'm going to kind of bring up today that I think we don't want to talk about in terms of negatives, but we'll get to that as well. But overall, mate, what more is there to say? I mean, Ellen Road was absolutely booming. I've not seen it like that in a long time, you know, because we missed so much of as the success because of COVID. Sure, we'd have probably had two of them kind of moments like that if lockdown hadn't have happened. But Derby, before obviously it fell apart that day, maybe was similar.
Yeah.
Apart from
charged
that,
energy, wasn't it? Yeah, charged atmosphere. Yeah.
You know, the Norwich game. I've seen people compare it with the Norwich game. I think it's different celebrating a goal that can keep you up than it is celebrating a goal that can get you promoted or win the league. They equally mean, you know, the importance are equal probably in measure, but the way that you celebrate it is different. One's relief and one's pure passion. And I think that's what we saw at the end of the game the other night. You know, the I Predictor Riot, Kaiser Chiefs banging out. And it was unbelievable, you know, seeing that many people stick around and stay around for what is just another 3 points, by the way. So, you know, pretty incredible, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, every time I flicked onto it, it felt to me like I was watching Leicester on a breakaway against Leeds, because I messaged you going, what's going on here? Because every time I put it on, it looks like Leicester are causing us real issues. Do you think it was a case of, look, they lost to us earlier in the season, they had a massive point to prove, they lost the previous game against Middlesbrough. Obviously, Maresca had come out and said what he said. Why were Leicester able to dictate the majority of the game? What was happening to this Leeds team that, like you said, exactly right, have probably controlled every other game this season? What happened there? Was it just the extra step up in quality of Leicester, the motivation factor? Why were Leeds not really able to get a grip, do you think, especially that second half?
I think we're a better team than Leicester. I said it before the game. I've said it all season. I think we play better football. I actually think we have a better starting 11. I would argue that their squad's stronger than ours, but I'd say our starting 11 is actually better than ours. But on the day, it felt to me from word go that we were a little bit nervous. We were a little bit apprehensive. We don't need to be, but it's a big game. It's a big occasion. And I think the players knew that the title or the potential for winning the title was in their hands on Friday night. A win against Leicester and bringing that gap back to 6 points means that they can now go up as champions. I'm not saying they will, but they have a chance to. And I think that was laying on them for the first 15, 20 minutes, that we were back to one or two touches before the pass. We were back to misplaced passes. And you know, Leicester are quite effective on the press. So they were putting us under a bit more pressure with 2 and sometimes 4 up front, which was then meaning that we had to get them passes correct. And if we didn't, the likes of Dewsbury Hall and Hamza Chowdhury or Ricardo, whoever was playing in the midfield, were on to them loose balls really quickly. So we were then putting the pressure back on us extremely quickly, because they have the talent within their team to be able to do that. Other teams have tried it, a Swansea as an example, and they get picked off because the players are just not as good as a Leicester. But Leicester do have some really, really talented players. So I think that's what it was. I think Leicester were good. I think they were at it. And I think Leeds were really off it to start the game. We grew into it, we built into it, but it took them a bit of time. And Leicester were smart. What they were doing is they were filtering us in down that right-hand side. They were allowing Joe Rodon, they were giving Joe Rodon no other option but to kind of dink it in towards Nonto. And then they were taking the 50-50s against Nonto and Archie down that right-hand side. And they were comfortable most of the time dealing with it. A couple of times we got in behind him. I mean, they're not no chance.
Yeah.
I still to this minute can't understand what he was doing. I mean, he had so much of the goal at his mercy and he decided to cut it back into a crowd of players. But on the whole, they dealt with the attacks really, really well. You think about that first half, nothing came down the left-hand side. Very, very little. Somerville had one moment where he broke away from Chowdhury, but that was more individual. It weren't that the attack was built up down that side. So... I thought they dealt with things really, really well. But the facts are, games are 90 minutes long. And, you know, I would call in for the subs from about the 55th minute. I think they came on about the 63rd to 65th, something like that. And they were what won us the game. They changed the game completely. And, you know, again, not to go too far ahead of myself and talk about specifics, but Gio was extremely frustrating in moments on Friday. But my word, was that guy a match winner on Friday. He was relentless, mate. Absolutely relentless. You watch the goals back and you watch the work rate it gets through. And sure, he does too much sometimes. He tries to take 2 or 3 players on. But the equaliser comes from Gio just running and running and running and beating players and bodying them and just getting some sort of crossing. The second goal, Gio loses the ball but then goes back and wins it back. I mean, he was on it all game. He was absolutely after it. I thought it was excellent.
Yeah. It's fascinating actually, because this kind of nervous start that Leeds produced, you wonder, where has that come from? Why has that happened? But I guess because of our form recently, it's put a different light on the season, hasn't it? Really, the fact that there is an opportunity to potentially go up as champions. I guess I just thought it may have worked out a little bit differently, especially with what Maresca said. Pretty much thought that might maybe it hyped us up a little bit too much. I don't know. Maybe we're a little bit tight.
I think that's what it was. I think there were a little bit too much charge there from the Leeds players early on. At the end of the day, they're a young side, and they wanted to get at it. I mean, I spotted it from Gio after about 40 seconds.
Yeah,
you could just see that he were fully buzzed up. And then Ampadu's comments in the tunnel afterwards, I'm guessing that you'll have probably seen him, where he's come out and said, "Hey lads, that were a massive game, that wasn't it?" And it's clear that they hear it. It's clear that they're talking about it. Social media and whatnot. It's very prevalent in today's game, and they're only human at the end of the day. And I still think that they dealt with it extremely well. The second that we scored the equaliser, I had no doubt we were going to win the game. Absolutely zero doubt. It felt like the fans and the players were just going to suck that ball in. What's to say about it, mate?
It's amazing, isn't it? That momentum swing. Someone who's been picked out in the post-match analysis, I've listened to other fan content over the last couple of days, read the reviews, etc. Someone who was said to have struggled a little bit was Rodon. Now, we've talked about Rodon. We've praised him heavily all season. Obviously, he's been superb for Leeds this season. I mean, one of the things that we talked about before is the fact that he's a bit more of a kind of old-fashioned defender, head everything, clear everything, perhaps on the ball, not the best, was one of the things we were missing, Strike, from what was comparable to the previous Leicester game, that real ball-carrying centre-back. Did Rodon struggle in your eyes? Did he kind of show why Postecoglou didn't want him around, or that he's not quite that next level? I mean, is that harsh, or what do you think?
I would say it's harsh. I mean, I thought Ampadu did fine bringing the ball out from the back. I think Strike is a better defender, but with the way that things are going at the moment, I ain't got too much of a problem with them two being the setup. Well, I've got no problem with it, actually. I think it's actually what will work best for the rest of the season. I think it's harsh. I keep making point to this, is that there's two teams playing the game, and Leicester are a very, very good side. And their front four, Pat Sandaka came from Salzburg, I think he came from, with a huge reputation, £30 million worth of striker. You got Fatawu and Mavididi on the wings. You've got some serious talent there. These are a great side. So to imagine that we're going to have moments where Rodon, Ampadu, whoever get beaten, that's normal. It's normal that these teams are and these players are going to be able to break through that. What do you expect them to be perfect for 90 minutes? You could put them up against Manchester City and they'd create 1 or 2 opportunities against the best defenders in the world. So, it's just unrealistic. And Joe Rodon's got Archie Gray alongside him at right back, who's a centre midfielder who's 17. And, I said we were going to get into it, and people won't want to hear this. Archie struggled like crazy the other night. He really did. If you go back and watch it, he had some good moments. And obviously, as the game grew, and Daniel Farke's changes, Jesus, to put Archie to left back. And, I never saw that coming, and it worked perfectly. But Archie really struggled. He did. Yeah. He really struggled on Friday night. And I think...
But he's up against a real top
player. Absolutely. And there's no shame in that. It's okay. We don't then have to be like, oh, Archie needs to place it, or Connor Roberts needs to now come in. And that's it for Archie Great right back. It don't have to be one extreme to the other. He just had a tough game against some tough players. They were moving him around, and Joe Rodon then he's been more exposed on that side as well, because he's having to try and coax actually through this situation, and he's dealing with two fantastic attackers as well. So I think it's extremely harsh to go in on Rodon. He had a couple of moments, but overall, I thought he did fine, considering what he were up against, mate. If I'm honest, I would argue that the midfield didn't protect him as much as what we've maybe seen. But again, they're up against some top players as well, and they're going to get cut through from time to time. I thought Gruev had a fine game. Kamara were a bit patchy for me, but you know what? Like, it's first versus second. There's going to be moments. So
yeah. I think. Do you think people maybe thought it was going to be like, rinse and repeat of what happened when we played them in October or whenever it was? A little bit like, because we completely outplayed them, didn't we, in that game?
We did. I think it's probably got more to do with the 8 straight wins. I think people are just on this kind of high that we're just going to walk over teams. And yeah, sure, we beat Leicester earlier in the season, so now we're in proper form. We should actually be beating them even better. Like, technically, I suppose we did, but that's just not the way that it works. Leicester, I've got a lot to play for as well. They're on the back of losing to Middlesbrough with a lot to play for. As much as Maresca tried to play it down, they knew how big this game was. They go into one more game now. If they lose again next weekend, not only are they worried about losing the championship, they're worried about losing automatic promotion all of a sudden. That will be on their mind. So it was a massive game for both teams. So I just think the expectation maybe would have been, and maybe even I, were a little bit of that. I said that we would be quite comfortable, would win 2-0 or 3-1. I ended up getting the score right, but I didn't think the game would go the way that it did. We were outplayed for 60% of the game, I would say. We still had large parts of it. We still had large parts of the game. And at the end of the day, game's a 90-minute game. Like, no games won on the 80th minute, and we turned it round perfectly. For that last 15, 20 minutes, we were all over them. So
yeah. And this is the thing, isn't it? Sometimes you want to think, if you win, you fully deserved it, you dominate, but it doesn't. Real football doesn't work like that at all, does it?
No.
And it's tremendous. Like, the comeback is just phenomenal, really. Like you said, Bamford, James coming on, changed the game. What about Joe Piroe then? What's going on there? Because again, I didn't see the full game, so these points I'm bringing to you are things that I've kind of heard out there in the ether, not necessarily my opinion, because I didn't see the game. But Joe Piroe is certainly someone who I've been looking at recently. Dropped for this run of games that we had before Bamford got his latest injury, and the results improved. Obviously, it's not just down to one person. Missed 2. The chance that he missed, he needs to be the killer, doesn't he? This guy, if you're gonna have him in your team and he's not gonna do the pressing, he's not gonna win the second balls, he's not gonna physically cause issues for the centre backs. When you get a chance or a couple of chances, you've got to be doing more than what he did. Surely, where do you stand with how that's going with Piroe at the moment and what he did on Friday?
Yeah, for me, we've spoken about this so much this season. It seems to be a topic that every Leeds fan kind of wants to discuss when it comes to breaking down games. But the facts is that Piroe doesn't suit the system as well as Bamford, nowhere near as well as Bamford. It doesn't suit a Daniel Farke system, period, because he doesn't suit it in the 10, he doesn't suit it in the 9, really. He needs to play alongside another striker, and we don't play like that. So, but then when you are playing with your Piroe and you're playing with him at the 9, them moments, you have to have them countered. The payoff for him struggling with all the other bits is that when he gets them moments, he scores, or he at least gets them on target. And the 2 chances that he had first half were big chances, especially the strike, the right-footed strike. You have to get that on target. So defending him can become difficult when that's the case. He should be scoring that. He should be scoring that, really, in my opinion. Or have the presence to know that Somerville's behind him. Now, this is why I'm not so keen to just be like, we should have lost the game because Daka should have scored, or Mavididi should have scored. Nonto should have scored, and so should have Piroe. Or he should have created the best opportunity for Somerville. So, yeah, it's a real tricky one, is Piroe, and I've said it for a bit now. I don't think he's ever going to fully fit this system, unfortunately. I like him. There's a load that I like about him. I really like his finishes. Like every goal I think of this season, I think that's a proper striker. That's a proper finisher, that. I really do enjoy watching him play. And I think, the assist for Gio last week, I think it was.
Yeah.
I've
got that in the locker, hasn't he?
Yeah. That's a pass that I don't think many of the attacking front four find, because, maybe Gio could find somebody making that run, but they all are a bit Russian, a bit jinky, dynamic, and Piroe's a bit more composed, and he has that kind of elegancy to strike the ball true. He played it perfectly weighted, so it went behind two defenders, and then in between the other one, so Gio could run onto it. And I do like a lot of what he does, but the facts are, when we are so used to a target, a pressing forward like Pat, that causes the defender so much trouble, Piroe just looks lazy so often, and it causes him. He's not lazy; it's just the type of player that he is, and it's the style that doesn't fit him more than him being a bad footballer.
There's actually a really interesting point here from Michael. What has been said about Piroe was being said about Rodrigo when he first arrived. Rodrigo eventually adapted to the Bielsa Marsh system, being Leeds' top goal scorer last season. I never thought he adapted to Bielsa's system, I must admit.
No, I didn't.
I used to dread it when you used to see Bamford and Rodrigo, and it'd be Rodrigo and another 10. I just used to be like, no, please. No. But I know what you mean. It was obviously superb last season. Definitely.
I've seen a few people saying that as well. I mean, I think Rodrigo just improved. I don't, if you look back through Rodrigo's career, he was very rarely an out-and-out 9. Very, very rarely. He usually played off one of the wings as kind of like a false 9 or an inverted forward. Bielsa loved him at 8 for some reason. I never understood it, but, that's the madman, isn't it? So, but you could have a point. You could have a point. I definitely think that Piroe, stylistically, if we were to have another manager drop in tomorrow that was expected to get us promoted, I have a feeling that you'd see a very different Joel Piroe if another manager came in and we're trying to get the best out of him.
Yeah.
Daniel Farke's system is unwavering. You have to fit the style. And we all know, I think, if we're being truthful, that Piroe wasn't first choice. He wasn't the first choice 9 that we wanted to sign. So
no. I mean, it's one of those areas where if Leeds go up, a centre forward, it has to be done, doesn't it? Because obviously Bamford, this comeback, this redemption has been amazing, but I can't imagine it going to that Premier League level again. I don't know if he'd quite, injuries wise as well. Can you rely on him for a full course of the season? Piroe, it's going to be even harder at Premier League level. So it's definitely an area where you think they would have to go in again. Definitely. When you watch that game the other night and you're seeing Leeds up against a quality team, and then you think in the Premier League that could be week in, week out. I mean, does part of you think, we need to actually spend a little bit of money in the summer if we're to survive? Actually,
again, I said this the other night, didn't I? Like, the team would look very, very different in the Premier League. You'd be talking 4, 5, 6 maybe first team signings that would come in to improve this squad. I love this squad, actually. I love watching this team, but at this level it's very different. We can have this conversation about Daniel Farke when and if we hopefully get there. But there's stylistically some things that we'd have to look at to try and adapt and change, and hopefully better players could do that. Could help him adapt, because we've seen he's capable of adapting this season. Daniel Farke, that is. So hopefully we could maybe adapt the style through being able to bring in some better players to improve. And I think we would. I think we'd see serious signings if we go up.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be kind of jotting around different topics and subjects as we normally do as we kind of go on trails. But let's have a look at what makes nice reading for Leeds United fans there. 34 games played, in second place, comfortable goal difference advantage over Ipswich, and Southampton now 5 points behind us.
Just have a moment to just clock these points totals, by the way, right? The season that we won the league under Bielsa, at this stage of the season, we were on 62. That would put Southampton top on 67. It's unbelievable how these 4 teams are doing. And Ipswich to even being in, considering the fact that they've only lost 4 games this season, they've drawn too many games, but the fact that they've only lost 4 games this season for a team that were in League One last season is unreal. Fair play to them. And, they've bounced back after their blip with 4 straight wins and a draw. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I still think they will struggle to maintain the distance, but after 34 games of 46, you're left with nothing but saying it's unbelievable.
They say this is why, because I've been seeing a lot of snarkiness from Ipswich fans online today, and I know it's the Twitter sphere or X sphere, and it's not real life. We know that obviously, but I'm seeing a lot of Ipswich fans throwing the parachute payment stuff in our face now, and I do feel like some of these other teams are starting to get a little bit snippy now. Leeds are in this position, especially. Ipswich fans. I'm seeing a lot about, oh yeah, but you got the parachute payments where just little old Ipswich from League One, we're so innocent and we, blah blah blah. I just think, look, why it's not as simple as just you've got the money and it happens.
Look. The parachute payments have been around for years and years and years. And I think it's less than 50% of the clubs that get relegated get promoted again. We were talking about the statistic the other week on how often it's happened whether 2 teams of the 3 relegated have been back promoted. It's happened 5 times out of 27 of championship seasons. And it's never happened that all 3 have gone straight back up. So this you've got parachute payments, it's a guaranteed ticket to promotion, is just BS. It's utter baubles. The big difference with this particular season is the strength of the 3 relegated teams that got relegated in terms of their stature in the Premier League. Southampton have been in the Premier League for 10 plus years. Leicester were Premier League champions and FA Cup winners not so long ago. Huge budgets and players that they managed to keep hold of. I mentioned Patson Daka earlier. The fact that he's playing in the Championship after being basically their marquee number 9 signing when they won the league, it's just crazy. And Leeds get thrown into that because we're a massive club. And when we were able to get promoted to the Premier League, the likes of, could you imagine Burnley or Luton signing Rafinha or Rodrigo?
No.
Or even, some of the ones that didn't work out, Llorente, Spanish international, German international, it just wouldn't happen. And we're able to do that because of the pull and the draw of Leeds United. Players that signed for us, the likes of Rodrigo, they're signing for the big Leeds United that were in the Champions League. He remembers them days. He knows the stature of the club. So that's what you're competing against, Ipswich, not the fact that we got 80 million to spread over X amount of years to deal with the fact that we've paid players Premier League wages. If you don't have parachute payments, you have no point in getting promoted and relegated. You might as well lock the Premier League off and have a Super League, because teams get promoted to the Premier League. They've got no parachute payments in case they get relegated, so they can't invest properly to try and stay up. So they don't. And they just sit there with their championship squad and get relegated again. Because they can't risk it. Because if they go down, they're screwed. So it's waffle, mate. It's utter waffle.
But it's ignoring the reality of Leeds' situation in the summer as well.
Exactly. It's spot on, mate.
We were mid-takeover. We didn't know if the takeover was actually going to happen.
Yeah.
We had several players going out on loans. We had a decimated squad. We were trying to throw together a recruitment team to try and scramble signings together. And we had so much upheaval in the summer that to just go, oh yeah, well, you had parachute payments and you were in the Premier League for 3 years, so automatically you should be doing what we're doing now. It's ridiculous.
I saw Lewis talking. I saw Lewis talking about it on the final word as well. And another thing that needs remembering is that we had a lot of rebuild in terms of the players that stayed too. So rebuilding Ilan Meslier, rebuilding Pascal Struijk, rebuilding Dan James. A lot of these players we rolled out and kind of discarded. Bamford. It goes on and on and on and on throughout this squad. So I don't buy it at all. I think the job that we've done, or the job that Daniel Farker and the players and the club have done this season, is absolutely tremendous. And the fact that we've been able to kind of bounce back and deal with it is massive testament. 22 wins out of 34 games on the back of conceding all them goals and losing all them games. The home form, it's just unreal that we've gone from, did we get 3 wins at home last season? I'm sure it was 3 wins.
Yeah, it was something really pathetic.
Something ridiculous, wasn't it? We were actually better away from home. than we were at home. You know, to be able to be undefeated in February, it's just, well, it's going to be March now, isn't it? But it's unbelievable, mate.
It's incredible. In fact, I mean, let's have a look at some of the stats and the rankings of Leeds in the Championship in 2024. Points won first, goals scored first, best goal difference, most games won, fewest defeats, and fewest goals conceded. I mean, we're 4 days away from March. I mean, have you ever seen a start to the year like this as a Leeds fan? I mean,
we've not, have we? I think won't it break the all-time record if we win next weekend? I'm pretty sure 10 straight league wins is a record for Leeds. It's unbelievable. It's literally unbelievable. And I mean, you know, and we've now played good teams, bad teams, indifferent teams, low block, high press. Like, it doesn't matter. We still win all the games. So, kind of lost for words as to what to even say about it. I mean, it is even better than the Bielsa Championship winning side. It just is. Like, you can't even argue against it now. You know. And it's a joy to be a part of. Like, it's so much fun to watch and enjoy. So mate, it's unbelievable.
Long may it continue. Someone just to bring up here as well. I mean, obviously you mentioned you didn't think he had the best of games the other night, but it was significant still. Becomes the youngest member of his family to make his senior debut. That was August 2023, and then the youngest member of his family to score.
Did it go down as
days before Eddie Gray? I think it's gone down as him. I think
it's gone down as his now.
Oh, yeah, good. I think it is actually his. Let me have a quick check on that. Yeah, I'm sure
it deserved it.
Because he hits it so cleanly and well, doesn't he?
Yeah, it deserved it. Look, I'm not being offensive to Archie the other day. I still thought there were moments where he was great, and I think he's deserved to keep Connor Roberts out the side. But there were moments where he were caught going the wrong way, or, you know, but he was playing against some top players. You know, Mavadid is a Premier League player, and Archie Gray is a 17-year-old centre midfielder playing right back. So no shade from me. I mean, he definitely weren't man of the match. I know he got man of the match on the Leeds voting. But yeah, I think the same with the other side. I mean, Firpo apparently came off and apologised, I've heard, to Daniel Farke.
Yeah, because he kicked off, didn't he? It was...
he
threw a bottle, didn't he, or something? And...
It looked like a bear with a slapped ass when he was sat on the bench. I saw that. I mean, he had a really, really tough night. He wasn't good, but neither was Archie. Like, I'm just going to be fair to both of them. It felt like nerves. It looked like both were playing with nerves. That's the only way I can kind of describe it. You know, a little short, not making a decisive decision to go into a tackle, or not making a decisive motion with a pass, and it would then getting cut out or half. You know, it under hit or over hit, and just bits like that, really. But look, we got through the game, so it doesn't matter, does it?
No, exactly. And I think we're going to be kind of looking at Firpo there for the rest of the season. Well, maybe not the rest of the season, but I mean, with Byram, it seems that, you know, those injuries are just catching up with him a little bit. He was out of the squad again on Friday. So, I mean, it would be great if Byram could get back to that level that it was earlier in the season, because I think it'd be a tremendous competition for Firpo on that side and really challenge him. And maybe that's what Junior needs, really, to keep him there.
I prefer Junior there. I do. And that's hard for me to say because I don't rate him, but I do prefer him there. The balance that he gives us with it just being left-footed is so much more effective for us going forward, especially.
Yeah, no, indeed. It's a big week ahead for Leeds. I mean, unbelievable week, really. We've got Chelsea on Wednesday in the FA Cup 5th round. We can kind of just enjoy that, though, I think, really, now. That's my feeling with it. It's like, I'm excited to see what these guys do against, you know, Premier League team who are back in form. They're in the cup final in a few minutes as well. It's a good test for Leeds again. I hope the players don't get nervous with it. I hope they just kind of put the best foot forward and give Chelsea a game. But, you know, these little things playing Leicester, it gives you an idea of who might cope and who might not cope next season as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to miss half the game on Wednesday, which I'm a little bit irritated about, but it is what it is. I run a boxing class on a Wednesday night, and I don't feel like I can cancel it for it because I'm also not doing the week after, so because of work. Anyway, I think I mean, we do need a little bit of rotation. I would like to see a bit of rotation because ultimately the league is the priority. But I think we go there with no fear, everything to play for. You know, they won't want to play us. They really won't want to play us. I think we're a huge banana skin for them, especially if they lose the cup today. I think they'll be a bit flat, and there'll be an opportunity there, especially if we score early, to really have the fans heckling. And I just think we'll go there and enjoy it, mate. Whatever happens, and it's a free pass for us. So yeah.
Exactly. And then it's a West Yorkshire derby next Saturday.
I don't want to talk about it, if I'm honest. Like, I've made this point so many times before. Like, I really hate this game. Like, I'd say this is my least favorite.
To be clear to everyone.
Yeah, I'd say this is the game that I least enjoy out of all games. Like when we go up against Manchester United as an example, and I hate to do this to us, but this is the truth. Manchester United don't like us. They are a rival, right? But it means way more to us than it does to Manchester United. It's just the truth. Manchester United's biggest rivals are Liverpool and now Man City, right?
Yeah.
They still see a rivalry in us, and I would say it's probably bigger than the way that we see Huddersfield, but it's a similar kind of thing. They've got nothing to win out of that game. When they come into a game against Leeds win the game, they're never at the end of it. Manchester United win the game, nobody says anything about it because it's expected. And the same goes for this game for us. There ain't a single Leeds fan that enjoys this game, especially away from home, because it's just an opportunity for there to be a huge banana skin that we have to then listen to constant blabber about for the next 2-3 years, because it does stick. It sticks for a while. I mean, I remember the Heffler goal. Like, and and Huddersfield at the time were they were a better side than us at championship level. They were. We were struggling before Bielsa, but that carried on and carried on and carried on. Oh, do you remember the Heffler? Do you remember the celebrations with Wagner afterwards and the no handshake? And it was just, it's just so cringy. Like, I can't stand it. And like I say, if we'd have won that day, they'd have gone to work the next day and been like, yeah, well, you're Leeds United, aren't you? You're expected to win the game. And it's like, no. And Mr. Downs gives it all, we give the credit. Well, you ain't got a choice but to. Yeah, because that's the only way that you can kind of really bounce off the disappointment for you guys. But it genuinely is just another game for Leeds. Like, Rotherham don't see us as a rival, I don't think. I see it very similar to playing Rotherham or playing Sheffield Wednesday. Like, I don't like Sheffield United, so I see that as a bit of a derby. I've always seen that as a bit of a derby. But Rotherham, for me, is exactly the same as Town. It is. Like, that's how I see it. And I just think it's a nuisance more than anything else. We should go. Yeah, they are. We should go there and roll them over, mate. We should go there and roll them over. New manager or not, bounce or not. Town are one of the worst sides that we've seen this season, and I know that it'll be a different version of them now, and they're at home. But if we want to finish in the top two, we have to win this game. Every team has a derby or a local kind of thing to deal with, just the same as this. We need to go there and win this game convincingly and on to the next one. And Huddersfield fans will be like, parachute payment, yay, £35 million striker, Jorginho Rota, like, whatever, like, done. Overweight game done. Sorry, it just irritates me. It irritates me. Me and for those of you watching, me and Steve Downs have been at each other for the last couple of days about this. And
it got stoked up with their owner, Mr. Kevin Nagle, who's been on the channel before. We really appreciate him giving up his time for the West Yorkshire Football Show channel. But he's come out and he's done a tweet yesterday about coming to Leeds next week, and Leeds is asterisked out, which I'm sorry, but Tin Pot teams do. I mean, Bradford City fans are just as bad with that as well. I've known so many Bradford City fans giving it the Leeds with the asterisks in. And it's just like, I can't believe an owner's sat there and done that.
I love Steve, and Steve knows I love him a bit.
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
away from him being a Town fan, love him to bits. But Town fans are just insufferable when it comes to talking about Leeds United. It's like me as a Leeds fan saying, no, Manchester United were crap throughout the 90s and the 2000s. No, they were crap. This, like, what kind of delusion do I have to live in to not be able to say that Ferguson's one of the best managers ever, and that Manchester United team were one of the best teams that you'll ever see? That's the level that it's at times. And my point over the last couple of days with this was, it's just so cringe. It's unbelievably tin pot to be you're the owner of a football club and you're taking to social media and asterixing out the letters of another football club. It's just it blows my mind. Like, and the same.
Well, they think they've gone fish. They think the Huddersfield Town fans now are reacting to this like Steve going, we've got him, we're fishing, and we've got him. And it's like, no, it's just bizarre.
It's the same as
in any way. It's just weird.
No. It's just a bizarre take. It's the same as when Rajazani jumped on Twitter and did the welcome, let's welcome Bamba Dieng. It's exactly the same as that. You are the owner of a professional football club. What are you doing? Like, for me, it's just a wild take. But it suits Town fans. I'm not being. That's the truth. It suits. He's playing to the audience.
Do you know what it is as well? Do you know what it is, though, as well? It's that thing of, and Radrazani used to do this, where it was like giving it the, salute and all this kind of thing. It's like, you don't need to. Did we ever see Bielsa, probably the most loved man at Leeds United in the last 30 years? Did we see him ever do any cheap tricks or employ any cheap tricks to try and garner more support or favour or, you don't need to do that. And I think as an owner or manager, whatever, you just don't need to do it. And have they not learned from last week with Enzo Maresca as well? He got his dig in about it not being a big game for Leicester, but it was for Leeds. And now I think, Kevin Nagel has stoked the flames a bit, and it, who knows how that's going to work out for them.
Well, I think you're spot on there, because I think for Town, the only real kind of opportunity that they have in this is that we're tired after 2 games and the cup and how big this game was and all the rest of it, and complacency. And I think all that he's doing is stoking up the possibility that we don't get complacent.
Yeah,
I really do. And that's, again, no disrespect. I would say that to a Stoke fan or a Sheffield Wednesday fan or Rotherham, like any of the teams towards the bottom. I would say the same thing, because I think when you have a team that's higher up the league that's expected to win the game, complacency is actually your best friend. You think you're just going to turn up there and roll them over. And now he's kind of just he's just done themselves in.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's going to be fascinating. Now, please tune in to tomorrow's episode of the West Yorkshire Show Roundup. Jason, are you free tomorrow night for that?
I should be, and then we'll have the preview on Thursday as well. Which, I like I said, I don't enjoy this. I don't enjoy this week at all. I didn't enjoy it last time, and we won 4-0, and I was like, okay, nice, great.
It's the biggest day in their calendar. It absolutely is the biggest day in their calendar. I'm sure of it. I'm certain of it. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating. We're going to have Steve on tomorrow. We're going to have the other guys as well, so we'll hear everyone's take on it. And then myself, Jason, Steve will be back on Thursday with a preview to that game as well. I think he might be bringing some support to that one as well, Jason. So it might be a little 2 versus 2, but we'll wait and see on that one.
Yeah,
He's bringing back up.
Yeah, he needs it. I mean, there'll only be if them two are coming on, there'll only be a couple more Huddersfield fans that are not on channel, I would guess.
Exactly, yeah. Tell him no, we need more people watching than me.
Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, it's going to be a big week again. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. I tell you what, someone else who is a clip going around Twitter today. It seems like another one who's got his ego a little bit out of plot, and that's Russell Martin. Have you seen him ignoring me? Oscar made a great point from All Leeds TV. He made a great point about, if you look at these emotional characters, and even Maresca before the Leeds game, and what he said since, just can't give any credit at all to the opposition.
Weird,
it's just weird, because you look at Farker, actually, who's probably gives credit where it's due, has massive self-belief, massive self-confidence, but is not deluded. And you think, actually, I want that guy in the running.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I mean, the Russell Martin one's even more confusing, considering that he will have known the reaction that Michael Beale got.
Yeah.
And I know it's a little bit of a different circumstance. I'm not saying it's exactly the same, but, to have that kind of unawareness of what it looks like, and it's just weird, isn't it? I mean, his team had 81% possession. Millwall had 19% possession and ended up winning the game 2-1. It's pretty wild, really. A lot of people said that Russell Martin's teams keep the ball for the sake of keeping the ball, and the facts are, when you are then under pressure and you're having them moments and you're missing them, the games start going away from you real quickly, and their blip now, it will be concerning to them. I mean, they at one point were, a game ahead of us in terms of points distance. They're now 5 points behind. We've got the coverage to be able to lose a game on them, and still be in front of them. So yeah, it's unbelievable how quickly things change, and their style relies on them being able to take moments of, take the be clinical in the moments that matter, and not be able to be frozen by pressure. And at the moment, it's showing that they're struggling. So
yeah, and they've not even had their toughest run yet. I mean, they've still got Leicester away. They've got Sunderland, Middlesbrough. They've obviously got us on the last game of the season. I mean, it's just bizarre how it's just kind of completely tightened up. It's almost as soon as they were talked about, like you say, the pressure's just been too much, and they've just not been able to handle it, Whereas I think Leeds, I mean, it's that thing as well, because obviously we're on this run now. We're chasing, what could be a historic 10th victory on the row. I mean, it's almost, you don't want too much attention on it, because then that becomes a thing. But obviously the confidence is clearly there at the moment. Do you think the way we beat Leicester the other night, do you think, despite us not probably controlling the game, does that give us more confidence going forward? Or do you think if there being a more dominant victory, that keeps that bandwagon rolling? I guess it doesn't really matter, does it, at this point, as long as you're picking up with 3 points?
I'm not sure it matters, no. Like, I think at the end of the day, I think other clubs will be like, Jesus Christ, I've won 8 in a row coming into this. They then play like this and they still beat the best team in the league on paper in terms of points. And they come out with 9 straight wins. I think, if anything, it kind of says we're in trouble here. Like, I don't think anybody wants to play us right now. We have so much going forward. Most of the time, we don't look like we're going to concede. I mean, it has to be said, on Friday, we did look like we could concede. That's the first time this year that we've been properly picked up, and a couple of, 2, 3, 4 times within the game. But we're not playing Leicester every week. We're not playing them kind of attackers every week. So, if teams try and play like that against us, on the whole, championship teams will absolutely tear them apart. You're going to be talking about seeing us score 7 or 8 a week, because we would just break on them constantly. I mean, we did it the other day, and I thought Leicester defended really, really well on the whole. Yeah. Vestergaard I thought was excellent. I thought his partner, centre-back partner, had a good game. I forget his name there.
Fayez.
Fayez, yeah. Wout Fayez. We could get in behind Justin, but overall they dealt with it really, really well. Again, most championship defenders are not them kind of caliber players.
No.
So yeah, I don't think anybody wants to play us right now. And our fixtures, I just had a quick look at the table. We've already played Ipswich home and away. We've already played Leicester home and away. We've already played West Brom home and away. We've played Hull. We've got Hull at home. At home, I'm not bothered about who we play, really. I think we'll go and win the game. Yeah. So we've got Hull at home and we've got Southampton at home. They're the other 2 in the top 6, and they're both at home. Norwich we've played home and away. Preston we've played home and away. Coventry we've got to play away, I believe. That's probably as tricky as fixture. Coventry away, we're 9th.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we've got a good run of fixtures coming up. In the next 5 games, I think we'll play 4 of the bottom 6. I think that's right. We've got QPR in that period of time. We've got Town. We've got Millwall at home. Sheffield Wednesday away. We've got some good fixtures coming up.
So it's like worried though, playing those teams at the bottom, they're fighting for their lives, and maybe kind of, because they've all kind of picked up, haven't they, a little bit?
Possibly, but the big difference in terms of playing them now as opposed to earlier on in the season, when you're playing a Sheffield Wednesday after 10 games, they can play the low block. They don't need to win the game.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the season, they need to win the games. So they then have to come out, which then suits us. So yes. I'm not worried. If you can't beat them teams in them circumstances, you don't deserve to go up.
Yeah, true.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, no, that's 100% true. I'm just having a look at Ipswich as well because I mean, fair play. I want to say I know I said earlier about some Ipswich fans saying about parachute pits, but listen, if I wasn't a Leeds fan, I'd be absolutely rooting for Ipswich to get promoted this season because what an incredible story. Kieran McKenna's done an unbelievable job there. Apparently they got some injuries though from the game. So yeah, Wes Burns, Broadhead, Connor Chaplin all forced off. So there might have a few injuries coming up. I mean, they've probably got the second easiest run, but even so, I mean, Plymouth away, Norwich away. They've got Hull away as well, Coventry away as well. So still difficult games. They've got a really crucial game, 1st of April as well against Southampton as well.
They're going to struggle, Brian. They concede too many goals. They concede too many goals. This season, I was just looking at a minute ago, they've conceded 45 and we've conceded 27. While you're conceding that many goals, you're going to struggle to win games every week. Even recently when they've been winning, they beat Rotherham the other day. They were 3-3 in the 95th minute and scored in that. You can't get away with doing that every single week. So I would struggle to believe that they will keep enough goals out to really keep the pace. If we continue with the momentum that we're going, I'm not saying that we're going to win every game between now and the end of the season, but out of the remaining 12 games, I would expect us to win 10 of them.
Yeah.
I really would. So, I can't believe that they will be able to continue with that kind of form. So it's in our hands, isn't it? That's the long shot of it. It's in our hands, mate.
It is. Absolutely.
Did just before you move on from Ipswich, did you find the Connor Chaplin comment weird?
Yes.
So he comes out and says that Leicester's the best team that they've played. Well, hold on. So you're 2-2 against Leicester on aggregate. You lost to Leeds 8-3 on aggregate over the 2 games. We battered you 4-0 at home. Like, what are you talking about? This team, there's such a weird agenda. I get it. Like, Leeds are love to be hated. People love talking about us in a derogatory way. It's never been different. It was like that in League One, Premier League first time, Premier League second time, Championship. It's always been the same. But to just have this kind of no grasp on reality is just so weird. It's so
and names
weird.
Get plucked out, don't they, as well? And you look at the social media accounts before teams play Leeds, and we can't wait to play Leeds. I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? What it's like. I did. I was like, hey, what have you done? It's like that 50 Cent meme, isn't it? He's like, what did I do?
Yeah.
What are you bringing my name into it? Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, they all seem to have an agenda against us. Leicester City, can we pinch that top spot? Jayson, I mean, looking at Leicester's fixtures, tricky back-to-back game. They've got Sunderland and Hull both away from home after QPR. I mean, it's amazing that we've even put ourselves in contention for the league, isn't it, really? I mean, and one thing that kind of makes me sad about it almost is I can see this totally going underappreciated because of this whole thing of we were in the Premier League kind of thing. And I don't think people realise how different. I hand on heart, if I'd have put money on it back in August, I would have said we will not be in this position at this time of year. Because I was looking at, you looked at the team then and how far Leicester and Ipswich had already got ahead of us.
Yeah,
I just wouldn't have seen it coming, and I just think it deserves such huge credit. I mean, obviously what Bielsa did coming in and turning an average team into the best team in the Championship, it's incredible. But this is another kind of incredible, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
What's being done.
It's different, mate. I mean, we don't have to, lower what Bielsa did because of what Farke's now doing and vice versa. They were very, very different. I mean, that squad didn't have a patch on the individual quality of this one. You take Hernandez out of that team, and you were left with technically a very, very ordinary side that was drilled into the ground under an unbelievable tactic and manager, where the club and the fans just all got it and went together. This is different, and given what we dealt with in the summer, this is different. Daniel Farke's had to deal with an absolute tirade of problems really in the summer, and he's pulled it round, and he was right. All the way through the early parts of the season, he was. Come back to me at the end of the season. I know this division. I know what I'm doing. Don't panic. Every game at a time. Even after the losses, after that Preston and West Brom losses in December, it felt like a bit of a defining moment of the season. And you know, he didn't panic, he didn't, you know, overreact, and he just went back to it and just carried on winning games. And he's just, for me, it deserves so much credit. He's the manager of the season. That's biased, I get it, but for me, if you take everything into account, it's just the truth. Maybe with Kieran McKenna, because you can't knock what they're doing. You can't knock what they're doing.
No.
But yeah, to make with 6 points behind us, absolutely we can win the league. Absolutely, we can win the league. I can't believe it either. I picked us to finish in the playoffs pre-season, been back and forward all the way throughout the season as to where we can be, and this recent run has put us in a position where, you know, we now can look at actually winning the league. I mean, when we beat them at the King Power, we would have gone 17 points behind them, and we obviously won that day, and the gap was, I think, 11, I think is what it was. And then the gap has increased again since then. And then we've gone on this run. They've had a bit of a blip, and then we beat them last night, and we go 6 points behind on the same amount of games. It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. And I think we can win it. I think we will win it.
Oof.
I think we will win it. I do. I think we will.
You just think all that momentum and all that kind of everything's there with us, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. I think Leicester are gonna drop more points, and I think we will drop points too. But I've already said I think we win 10 of the last 12. Yeah. So that means that Leicester have to win 8 of the last 12. And I just don't see them doing that. You know, I think they'll drop. I'm not saying they'll lose 4 games, but I think they will drop enough points that we can catch them.
Yeah. I hesitate to say I agree, but I do think it's there, isn't it? It is absolutely there. Diggler, the celebrations are going to be massive if we go up, especially if we're champions. Yeah, I mean, it's almost going to be like not a second chance, but obviously when we went up under Bielsa, there were restrictions, weren't there, with COVID? I know everyone went to the stadium, obviously, when we did get promoted, but it's going to be huge again, isn't it? It's going to be absolutely massive if it happens. Yeah. I mean, the position we put ourselves in now, it feels like it could be there, you know, just for us to take. And hopefully we get over the line with it. Good stuff. Anything else you want to cover, Jayson, before we depart?
Don't send me off on any more tirades. I think.
How do you feel about Huddersfield Town, Jayson?
Yeah. I think we win the game. I'm not even thinking about the Chelsea game too much, if I'm honest. No. I'm so focused on the league. Yeah, like the cup game is going to be nice, but I'm just looking forward to seeing what we can do in that game. But I would really, and I'm sure Daniel Farke will get it right, but I just hope that we rest the players that need resting. We're kind with the squad. I would like to see Connor Roberts play. I'd like to see Archie come out. I'd like to see some changes in the midfield. I'd maybe even, you know, I understand it could potentially hamper us on the night, but I'd like to see Cooper come into the back line. Maybe I don't think we should rest Ampadu because this is Ampadu's game. This game will mean a lot to him. Yeah. But maybe rest Rodon. I want us to compete, but I'm not bothered at the same time. The squad is more important. Every single one of them is going to want to play. I honestly wouldn't be shocked if he wheels out the best 11. I really wouldn't be, because I know what he's like. I know what the players are like. They're going to want to play in this game. Yeah. But Saturday's game's massive. And not because it's Town, because it's 3 points. We need to keep on picking up 3 points, and Town will go at us for the first 20 minutes. And if we are not quite at it because we're a bit leggy and we find ourselves one behind, that could be a long day. You know, they're going to be super up for it anyway as a fan base. The players and the manager are going to be right behind it. You know, they knew they were going to lose at Ellen Road earlier on in the season. It was different. They were resigned there to lose. This is a bit different. And they are on a bit of form as well, and they need the points. So we need to approach that game right. I think it's going to be a tricky game. I really, really do. Yeah. I think it's going to be a tricky game. If we can allow our quality to show, we should win the game however we win the game. But I think it's going to be tricky.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, another key thing is don't get any injuries in that Chelsea game as well. But we'll wait and see. Myself and Jayson will be back for a post-match on that. Like I say, do check out the West Yorkshire Football Show weekend roundup tomorrow at about 8:30. So do stay tuned for that. Please smash a like on this video, subscribe to the channel as well for more content on Leeds United and all our teams across West Yorkshire. I've been Stephen Brown. Oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because I'm so sorry to kind of just cut you off in mid-exit, but we didn't really specifically talk about Meslier the other night.
Oh yeah, come on, let's give Meslier some love, because he's
just for 5 minutes before we finish, because I thought it was excellent. I thought it was absolutely excellent. He's come under so much flack this season, me including, me specifically. I've hammered him at times, not saved us in games. You know, there were moments where he made himself big that, you know, made that the attacker had a more difficult chance to finish, and he put it wide. The save against Mavadide at 1-0 was at 1-0 was absolutely massive, and it was a world-class save, top save. So, you know, that one, and he did have other moments as well. I thought it was really, really good the other night, and it's only right that, given how much grief he's got, that we take a moment to kind of acknowledge how we played the other night. I don't know what you were saying, but
yeah, I mean, this is what he did, though, didn't he? I mean, when he first broke into the team, and for that kind of first year in the Premier League, and even probably partway through the following season as well, that's what Meslier did. He pulled out world-class saves, you know, as and when we needed it, really. You know, he was brilliant at that. And I think it's only when that defence really started to crumble that, you know, it all kind of went downhill. But I mean, fantastic saves. I mean, that's, you know, in both Leicester games, he's been unreal, hasn't he?
Yeah. The Daka save in the first half as well, tipped over the bar, very Meslier-esque of the pass. And like I say, the save from Mavadide, making himself big. You know, he struggled with his feet at times, put us under pressure, but that was more to do with the way that Leicester were playing and the way that he's instructed to play. It's not just about him making the pass; it's about an available pass being there. So, I'm chuffed for him as well. He deserved it. He deserved it. I think, with the exception of Gio, he was my man of the match the other night. I really liked his performance. So just thought I'd say that before we.
No, definitely it's worth it, and hopefully, you know, a Meslier who's confident is a massive asset to us. So long may that continue. Good stuff. Yeah, I'm glad we've got that there in as well. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.